Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Brett and Matt Show. As always, I'm Matt. He's Brett, and we're gonna we're a little late here. We're gonna do a mid-season review. I know we're a couple weeks after the mid-season point, but we never really got a chance to share our thoughts on that. And the first part of this podcast is kind of gonna be to go over the Green Bay Packers. So I got my nice Packer sweatshirt on. You see the Packers in the background. We're going to kind of go over what's happening with the Packers. I mean, 3 straight losses. It's kind of tipping the ship.
It's okay. I don't remember where we were ranked offensively going into this 3-game losing streak, but it wasn't as good as you probably expect with an Aaron Rodgers team. But these last 3 weeks have even been worse, man. It's honestly pathetic. Until, of course, we need to score. Then all of a sudden we don't seem to have trouble when we really need to move the ball. Unfortunately, too little, too late every single time.
That's true. And, I mean, as much as other professional people that get paid to do this will say Aaron Rodgers can't win in the clutch, can't win in the fourth quarter when game's on the line. In my opinion, he doesn't control Mason Crosby's legs, so that's not his fault.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, after getting that onside kick, you almost expected that to be like one of those things where, hey, last year we got the playoff loss off an onside kick. That's just a little bit of karma comeback, and we're going to get that victory off another onside kick and get us into position. And Crosby looked like you or me kicking, frankly. That was a terrible, terrible kick.
It was awful. And, I mean, of the losses we've suffered this season, that one probably hurt the worst, because to get
Detroit
that onside kick, to get that onside kick, to get in field goal range, and all of a sudden be in a better situation than we were, like literally 20 seconds ago. We're in a better situation, right? Instead of just tying the game and going to overtime, we get to have an opportunity to kick the field goal and just win the game outright by a point. I mean, to lose it that way, it just really stung. And I guess since we've kind of off camera, we said we're gonna change things up a little bit. Brett's gonna be a little bit of from the show First Take, a little bit more of a Stephen A kind of opinion. I'm gonna be a little more Skip Bayless. So from Skip Bayless's point of view, I gotta say it's another loss for Aaron Rodgers. And now Aaron Rodgers gets to have the nice little record of being the quarterback to give up the home streak in Wisconsin to the Detroit Lions. Brett Favre never lost to the Lions in Lambeau. Matt Flynn never lost to the Lions in Lambeau. And Aaron Rodgers did. I hope he feels really proud of himself.
Now listen here. I've talked to Aaron Rodgers a couple of times. That is a bad man. He is a bad man, Skip. Or Matt.
He was a bad man. He was just plain bad.
Rodgers, I set you up on that one. I'm sorry, buddy. No, I mean, he's he's not throwing. You can't throw it and catch it, all right? Just like Giselle said for Tom Brady, your boy Tom Brady. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, probably shouldn't throw it in the dirt as often as he's been throwing it. He's hurt, though, all right? He's hurt. He's out there trying his hardest when he's hurt. He's still better than 90% of the quarterbacks in the league.
Is he? I don't know. Are you sure?
That's actually probably a bit high. No, if we're being honest. I'm not even going to be Stephen A right now.
Okay,
no.
This is silly. I'm not doing this either. Okay, so in all seriousness, though, I guess if we want to take – oh, my gosh. I don't get it, okay? I mean, you're talking about one of the worst defenses in Detroit coming into Lambeau, and Aaron Rodgers struggled mightily for most of the game to move the ball on that defense. What I know, it came out he has a shoulder injury, but I don't understand. Like, we couldn't really run the football. We couldn't throw the football.
The most effective receiver we had was Jared Abbrederis.
It really was. Jared, He came in. The Packers had really been lacking that guy that could stretch the field. Him and Perillo, the tight end. Rodgers kind of. This is the other thing about Rodgers that's really interesting. He kind of took a subtle little jab at all the other receivers in the locker room when he kind of pointed out something about how Perillo and Abbrederis, he wanted to get them more involved and guys need to step up. Kind of calling out Devontae and Randall Cobb, the guys who everyone thought the Packers offense was going to be. And the other thing, we targeted Devontae a ridiculous amount of times.
21 times. 21 times. And he only caught half. And it's only for 79 yards. I mean, 21 attempts to a guy for 79 yards is highly inefficient football. I don't know if that's on Devontae. I mean, 2 plays in a row, he definitely got pass interfered with. That didn't get called. But, I mean, regardless, the other 19 throws for 80 yards. It's 4 yards per attempt. Might as well run the ball with Starks on those plays.
It's true. The other thing that I thought was really kind of telling was, Devontae, I think, has the potential to be a really good receiver. But for all you Packer fans out there that are saying and upset at him and are expecting him to expect him to be Jordy Nelson in year 2 of his career is not fair. It's not fair to him, and it's obviously just unrealistic expectations. It's just not even close.
Right. And I mean, Jordy for MVP? No. What happened?
No, you just reminded me of something I have to bring up. Do you remember? Okay, so at the beginning of the year when Jordy got hurt, I remember you specifically saying how Rodgers made Jordy the receiver he was. Are we sure Jordy didn't make Rodgers the quarterback he is?
Did I say that?
I think you did.
Is that my quote? Can we look this up when we're done?
Are you sure we didn't have that backwards?
I mean, I'm fairly certain because if you go back and in the Super Bowl, Jordy was still only option like number 3, right? I mean, that was the time Jordy kept dropping passes. He wasn't Jordy yet until he finally started catching the ball consistently. Because there were those passes to Greg Jennings in the corner for a touchdown up the seam that Jennings almost had. James Jones was there, Donald Driver. I mean, it was obviously a really good receiving core, but even after all those guys left and it was just Jordy, it was still Rodgers was actually almost performing better. A lot bigger plays almost because Jordy was that guy that could stretch the field that they certainly don't have now. And that's kind of upsetting because obviously everything seems quick. And if it's not quick, Rodgers is dancing around back there and he's panicking, even though sometimes he's not even under pressure. It's just like, shit, first and second read aren't open. I expect to get hit or I expect to have to run around because my guys aren't open yet. And I got to create as much time as possible.
So I feel like another positive, and this really isn't saying a lot, but got to give credit where credit's due. And Rodgers brought it up in his press conference. He mentioned the defense, and the defense held Detroit to not a ton of points. The Packers, Rodgers right. The Packers offense should put up enough points to beat them. That simple.
They definitely should. I mean, 18 points to Detroit. I mean, it could have been 20. Guy missed 2 extra points. Which, whatevs. Like, why do they kick from the left hash, by the way, if he's going to keep missing left? Put it in the middle of the field and just kick the damn field goal from the middle.
It must be a preference thing because I see some kickers do it. I see some kickers just kick in the middle. Like, it just must be a preference thing.
His preference is him sucking, I guess, because that's pathetic.
That's a good point.
And he missed him left. If he kicks both of those in the middle of the field, they're good. In a game, probably isn't. Actually, we'd go for a Hail Mary. It might have been better off than Crosby kicking it. So I don't know, man. The defense did hold Detroit. The defense still lately. I mean, Carolina, even Peyton Manning. I mean, and we all saw what happened to Manning. Obviously, he's hurt. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But like those games defensively were not. I mean, like the first couple weeks, with the exception of the Chicago game, I felt like the defense played mostly pretty well. I mean,
they did.
Granted, looking at the teams we played, San Francisco, shitty offense. Rams, Gurley in like his second week, he didn't even score, but he did get a lot of yards. Held them to 10. But thank God that, Nick Foles or whoever was quarterback was throwing to us instead of throwing to his guys. San Diego came down to like the final play because Philip Rivers threw for 500 yards. I mean, we were winning, but offense and defense still, I don't think we've had like a complete game.
No, we really haven't. You mentioned the defense. I mean, there's those 3 weeks where they gave up 1,500 yards pretty much, which is just a recipe for disaster. I mean, obviously as Packer fans, we understand, like, yeah, we lost to Denver when Peyton Manning came off a bye week and he got to rest his noodle arm. Now he's feeling good. He was slinging the rock deep. We'll get into him a little bit later. Obviously we lost to Carolina. Carolina's a good team. They have a really good defense. Another surprise is that, I feel like Cam Newton, every year he's been in the league, he's taken steps forward. I feel like he's doing it again this year. So, I mean, those aren't losses that I feel like, you should be ashamed about. But losing to Detroit, who is miserable, that was really – I hope that was the wake-up call that we needed because, man, I tell you, like, otherwise, I don't know, maybe we're just not that good of a team as we thought.
You've mentioned this off camera today. I think it was today or maybe yesterday, but I was last night when we were on Xbox, right? I think about how we just do better when we're just hurrying it up, and Rodgers is basically the one calling plays, and we don't listen to whatever offensive coordinator's name is.
Tom Clements.
Whatever he's thinking isn't working in every other game situation, but like when we're speeding it up and we have to get points, we seem to be able to do it. Green Bay seems to be able to do it.
And you know what? I'll be the first to admit, I haven't loved Tom Clements' play calling. Obviously it hasn't worked. I mean, for crying out loud, a couple of years ago when Rodgers had a broken collarbone and Eddie Lacy was a rookie and Scott Tolzien was the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, we still had a top 5 offense. Like, come on. Like, this is just – I mean, I think going into last week, we were ranked 25th, which is just unheard of for a Mike McCarthy offense. I'm sure Tom Clements is a very nice guy. But like you just said, in my opinion, I think the offense does better when Rodgers is in the hurry up, when he's calling the plays. I feel like he's more confident. He's willing to, and maybe part of that's the game situation. Like he knows, me taking a sack right now doesn't do us any good. Like I gotta trust my guys to be in the right spot, and I might have to throw a pretty tight pass and thread a tight needle to get the completion I need. So I mean, it's just a combination of things. But I don't know. I would really, really like if McCarthy would stop being so stubborn and take the play calling back.
Right. Hey, he gave the guy the opportunity to call plays. He can't say, all right, guy, you're doing great. It's like, oh, yeah, I gave you the chance. You're not doing great. The whole team as a whole has struggled. So maybe it's time I take back the reins and at least we can get the offense going. Maybe he'll fire the defensive coordinator too. I know that's been something people have been calling for 3 years now.
It's true.
So, but this is a huge weekend, right? I mean, Minnesota game.
Huge.
Minnesota's in first.
They are.
Green Bay wins the game. They're back in first because they got the head-to-head win, and I think they'll have the same division record at that point. But yeah, it's big. If they lose this game, it's almost, I don't know if they'll win the division.
Correct. I think if they lose this game, it's going to be really hard for them to be able to win the division. They're going to have to, they'll be, probably looking at a wild card. Which the other thing Packer
Maybe
fans
we want the wild card.
Need to understand is, okay, so in the NFC, let's be realistic about this, all right? So you've got, okay, so we'll assume the Panthers win the South. We will assume the Cardinals win the West. So those are your 1 and 2 seeds. And then your division winners would be Minnesota and the NFC East. It's got to be between Giants. I'm just going to say the Giants. The Giants will win the NFC East. So that means your wild card is going to fight out between Atlanta, Green Bay, Philadelphia. People want to keep talking about the Cowboys, but the Cowboys are 2-7. People like they have to win out,
Every
and then
single game.
they have to win every single one loss in their can. And honestly, they probably need to win in the division instead of a wild card berth. Just with the way tiebreakers are gonna go. Oh, and I'm sorry, I left out a couple. Another team. Seattle possibly is gonna be fighting for a wild card spot. So you look at. And the Rams will possibly be in the mix for a wild card as well. So we already beat Seattle and we beat the Rams head to head. So we own tiebreakers over them. If we end up with the same record, I would think Atlanta will squeeze enough wins. I'm kind of assuming they will be a wild card team. I mean, those are the teams that we're up against realistically. So I mean, I feel pretty confident that we can get a wild card berth. The NFC, honestly, I think is kind of weak. So it might just be who gets hot, and we'll just have to roll the dice as a wild card team, maybe.
Did for the team, if you're gonna mention, you mentioned Philly as a potential wild card, right?
I did. Yep.
Did you also mention Washington?
I did not. I left out Washington.
Same record as Philly right now. It's amazing to me. Yeah, I mean, the way things stand now, you're looking at it, and the wild card teams would be Atlanta and Green Bay, and they happen to have 2-game leads on the other team. So, because the other teams, there's no team with 5 wins that would be a wild card team, assuming the Giants are winning. So everyone else is at 4. Green Bay and Atlanta have 6. They got 2-game lead, going down the last 5 or 6 games, depending on or 7 if you're Minnesota somehow. Oh yeah, that's right, 5 weeks. So it looks like those teams wild card. If you're like the 6 or 5 or 6 seed, you're playing the 3 and the 4 in that first week. Those teams aren't any good. I don't think. I mean, no offense to. I mean, not that Minnesota's not any good. Obviously, they would have won the division. Green Bay's in. But I mean, playing them again, the third time, you're not like totally at like a loss. You're not going to go into that game and expect to lose, I don't think. And then if you're playing the Giants, well, maybe the Giants, they seem to win the Super Bowl every time they make the playoffs. So maybe we don't want to play the Giants. But I mean, as long as we make the playoffs in the NFC, you're going to have a shot because Carolina so far has, I guess, been the only like actually dominant team, and Arizona has had spurts where they've been super dominant, but they've also got 2 losses right now, which is kind of surprising. Who'd they lose to?
They lost to. That's a good question.
That's actually, they have a big game this weekend too with Cincinnati. I mean, I know they're AFC NFC team, so it's not like necessarily a playoff thing. They lost to the Rams. How the fuck do the Rams keep winning these games?
You want one name, my friend, Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley. Yeah, but they win their division games and then lose every other game they play. Like, I don't get it.
That's true.
And they win the hard games. The Rams beat Arizona. I think they beat Seattle, and then they lose to scrub teams.
All right, so if you're the Green Bay Packers, moving forward, we've had some struggles. We got to correct some things. What would you do going into this week in Minnesota to try and get us on the right path to win the ball game? Give me 3 keys on offense and defense.
Well, there's some things that they don't have control over. I think being healthy would have been one of them. I don't know if the secondary is healthy yet because I know they had some injuries. Like people came back, and then all of a sudden they got 2 or 3 more injuries in that Denver game. So obviously you can't help that. You just got to play with what you have. So I can't really say injuries is one of them. You know what I'd like to see though? An established run game that's effective. I don't need you to run the ball 30 times in a game, but when you do run it, I'd like to see some yards, like I don't want to be in 2nd and 9 every time, which basically with our tackles is not a good idea because people can pin their ears back and rush, and neither one of them is any good. So that's probably one thing. Just pick up some yards on goddamn first down. Rodgers needs to, I think, stop dance. I know he's always had the happy feet. They're always moving, which is great. It works good for him. But I feel like he almost looks more anxious now than he does in terms of like when he's scanning the field. It's like he's, I don't know, unsure of things. Like before when you'd watch it, you're like, okay, yep, he's just calmly bouncing around, going through his progressions. Now I just feel like he's panicking. Like he's expecting to get hit or he's not expecting his guys to get open. So I don't really have a key for that. It's just what I've observed. Maybe he needs to start having sex on Sundays or whatever it is. You know, him and Olivia. No, I'm just kidding, because she's obviously not the problem. He won MVP when they were dating, so it's stupid for those people to say that she's the issue. But I don't know, man. Defensively, this particular weekend, going against Adrian Peterson, let's stop the run. That would be good. But I don't really have like a lot of keys. I think they have the talent. I think they have the talent, man. It's just they're not playing. Just let Aaron Rodgers call the plays. Just set that guy on the sideline and say, "Hey, Tom, you're not calling plays anymore. Aaron is. Just run the hurry up every single setup you got."
You know what? I wouldn't be opposed to that. So I guess for myself, for some keys, you know, we this is a big game, and there's no doubt. I think our preseason predictions, we both picked Minnesota to, I think, be a wild card team, or at least be in the hunt for it. So we thought they would be legit, and I mean, obviously, they've played some teams really good. The Raiders, who, you know, last week everyone was up and coming about, they beat the Raiders pretty handedly, I thought. You know, it comes down for me for offense. Some keys we got to think about. You mentioned run the ball. We got to establish the run. It's pretty simple. Coach Tom Clemens, whoever offense calling plays, we need to run the ball. Especially, and this kind of goes with another point I was going to have, but you know, Rodgers on the injury report with the sore right shoulder. Running the ball and protecting him is important. We can't just go out and sling the ball 40 times this week. Like, I would like to see us establish the run, get some play action pass. Hopefully that'll work. The other key that I have besides, you know, run the ball and protect Aaron Rodgers is third down. We got to convert third downs. And honestly, it goes back to my run the ball. Get yourself in good down and distance, third and shorts, and then convert them. Like, we gotta stay on the field. The offense too many times goes three and out, or they'll get a first, and the very next third down they'll stall and end up, you know, not staying on the field. Like, we got to get ourselves in good down and distance, stay on the field, convert third downs, and you know, hopefully be able to put some more points. On defense, you mentioned AP. You know, he's kind of ran over Green Bay several times. He's ran over lots of teams several times. But, you know, number one, in my opinion, make Teddy beat us. Stop the run. Minnesota's won a lot of games because they control tempo. When you control tempo with a good ground game, gives you a big advantage. So I feel like we really need to shut down AP, and if we're going to lose, make Bridgewater beat us.
Which I do like Teddy, and I think he's got the skill to do it.
He does. The one thing, I mean, obviously with Teddy, I feel like he's sneaky athletic. Like he's pretty mobile outside.
Wait a second. Did you just say sneaky athletic for a black guy? He's just athletic. Come on, man.
He's sneaky athletic. He's a pocket passer. You don't think of him running at all. Like, I feel like he runs way less than Russell Wilson does. His only interest is trying to pass the ball down the field. So, I mean, you know, obviously be aware of things like that. But I feel like another important part, the turnover game. If we can force a couple turnovers, that would be extremely helpful, whether it be Clay Matthews forcing a fumble or, you know, we have some ball hawking, you know, guys in our secondary. Demarius Randall seems to be at the right place at the right time. Maybe he comes away with an interception.
Can we tell Clinton Dix to actually play a pass, though?
He had a pick last week, man. It was awesome.
His first one of his career.
Actually, no, it was like it's not the first one of his career. He picked it. Come on, Brett. Yeah, so I guess, you know, I you know, said about the turnovers, and you know, I guess the thing about defense is obviously you got to get off the field. You know, like I just said, the Packers need to convert third downs. It's important that, we try and get Minnesota in long down and distance situations. And unlike what Dom Capers likes to do on third and long, hopefully not have giant gaping holes in the middle of the field. Seems to be a pretty common occurrence. Hopefully you can stop them, and this won't be an easy game. It's in Minnesota, but if I was the coach, those would be the things I would key on this week.
Fair enough.
So I mean, we talked about our Green Bay Packers a little bit. Let's move into our thoughts so far in the NFL season. We're a little late with our midseason review, but let's discuss a little bit about where we're at right now in the NFL. Surprises, not surprises. Just take it away. Any topic you feel like.
Well, I'm going to start with Peyton Manning. And, hey, congrats on getting a record. But goddamn, man, he stuck around an extra year that he didn't need to stick around for. I get it. You were real close to Super Bowl a couple years ago. You're that close to some records. And your biggest rival, Tom Brady, is still killing the game. Maybe you feel like you need to. I don't know what his problem was or why he didn't just retire or what his issue is. But, I get it. You're going to look at records. His name's going to be all over it, record book-wise. But I feel like anytime you own a record, the chances are that you stuck around a little bit too long, right? Favre set that record as far as he did, and he stuck around a little bit too long, probably that extra year that he didn't need to be there. And if he wouldn't have done that, Manning would have already had records last year, and then maybe Manning would have retired on time also. So I get it. Congrats on the record. You had a great career. But please, for the love of God, actually, hold on. Before I finish this, if Brock Osweiler plays really good this week, and then going into that New England game, who do you play? You play Manning if he's sort of healthy. You just say, "Hey guys, this is Brock's team now." You can't just set a legend like that, can you? Mid-season.
That's tough. That would be an interesting decision they would have to make. I think they'd play Manning. I really do.
Man, I would almost tell my doctors to say, "Hey, tell him he's hurt for another week," just so you can get a little bit of extra. They need to see what Osweiler has. They're gonna draft a quarterback at some point, probably, or maybe sign one. It depends, I think, on how they feel about Osweiler. But you need to have some tape of the guy playing NFL teams, right? I mean, after, or at least coming into this offseason. I mean, I guess Green Bay didn't really have a lot with Rodgers, going from Favre to Rodgers, but he had played some games. He was hurt every single time too, so I guess they didn't have a whole lot to go off of. But I don't know. I kind of want to see a game, I guess a game and a half. Is that enough for you to want to say be confident, or do you go into the offseason saying number one priority, signing a free agent or drafting one in the first 3 rounds?
That's a good point. I mean, if you look at it and the way what the Packers did, they actually took this guy named Brian Brom in the 2nd round. Matt Flynn in the 7th round. They drafted 2 quarterbacks that year. And obviously we know Brian Brom did not pan out. Matt Flynn, not bad considering 7th round pick. So in that regard, I mean, I think you do a similar game plan, right? If you're John Elway, unless someone falls in the 1st round that you like, otherwise, take, one of your middle rounds. I think you take maybe a quarterback and maybe another one later on, because obviously that's a really important piece. And, Denver's still got a lot of talent on that team. No question about it. So, you got to try and see what you have. But to your point with Manning, I agree with you. It reminds me a whole lot of Favre's final year, just injury riddled. Looks like they probably both should have retired that last year beforehand. Couldn't agree with you more on that. And to your question about Osweiler, they obviously need to see what they have with them. There's actually been talk that, Osweiler will actually be able to run Gary Kubiak's offense better than Manning was. So it'll be interesting to see. They say I know I said it before. They say he's sneaky athletic, Brett Staley. Sneaky athletic.
Because he's a 6'7" white
for
guy.
a 6'8" guy. But I guess some other mid-season thoughts. I have the Patriots are just on a tear. I wanted the Giants to beat them last week. I watched a lot of that game. If Odell Beckham Jr. is not busy horsing around worrying about what touchdown dance he's going to do after he scores, instead of just holding on to the football, maybe the Giants have the Patriots number and they beat them again. But they don't, and Tom Brady is able to go down and kick that field goal right at the end, lead them down for Gostowski to kick the field goal right at the end to
Dude, I wish we had a kicker like that. That guy is money for everything.
He is fantastic. And every time they say it, they're like, he hasn't missed a field goal all season. I was literally thinking in my head, I'm like, he's going to miss his kick. They just jinxed him. He's going to miss his kick. And, he doesn't. They did lose Edelman, but they still have Gronk. And Gronk just opens up everything in that offense. Tom Brady's just kind of playing at another level. I think everyone knew Cincinnati had a lot of talent on their team. Besides losing to the Texans last week, Andy Dalton had looked stellar. And that team in general looks stellar. And then, the whole BB gun comment, J.J. Watt taking shots. And no offense, I know you like Andy Dalton, but come on, you got to have a little thicker skin than that, don't you?
He does. He came out and said something, though. Did you read that?
No, I did not.
He said something afterwards. He's like, I probably shouldn't have said what I should have said. I just was replying to what a commenter or like what a reporter said. JJ said, he's like, I didn't see his comments. I'm not going to read his comments. I don't care. They won the game. I'm done. Let's get over it, sort of thing. So he at least acknowledged after the fact that it was kind of like, maybe I took that a little hard. And called JJ out for not being a role model and being disappointed, but it was just a silly joke. Especially since JJ did say afterwards that's a good team and he's a good quarterback. So he did pay a little respects, but I know that the reporter probably didn't bring that up when asking the question. So, I don't really have much more to say on that other than Gingers have no souls.
That's true.
Sorry, Jason.
So, I guess, another thing. So I know both of us, you, in the preseason, both of us thought Green Bay, Seattle, right? Both of us thought those are the two teams that are going to be fighting to get a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Green Bay, we just talked about, for how long, struggling. What's going on in Seattle? Is that ship starting to come undone?
What's going on in Seattle is Russell's not playing as good as Russell has played before. Just throwing that out there. Obviously he struggled a lot in that Arizona game, especially early. Really, the only reason they were in that game at all was that defense ended up scoring essentially 2 touchdowns for them on a couple strips, like back-to-back of Carson Palmer. But at the same time, there were some plays too. Like, I don't know, man. Like, that defense, still good, but, like, they gave up some really big chunk yards to Arizona. I think Kerry Williams is a terrible corner. Everyone else in that secondary is still fine as far as the starting 4 goes, but Kerry Williams is so weak that, like, the guy just gets picked on by everybody. But they still have, as far as I'm concerned, probably the 2 best outside rush guys that you could have in a 4-3. Obviously 3-4, a little bit different because you got like Tom Bali and Justin Houston, and then Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware or whatever. But like their pass rush is still really good. So I don't even know what's happening. Basically, I kind of want to say it's the offense's fault, but it hurts me because I love Russell Wilson.
Do you think teams have maybe figured out what Darrell Bevell does? Because I'm not that I want to go back to the Packers, but Josh Sidden did say after the game last week, he's like, we're too predictable on offense. You know what? He's kind of right. Like, everyone knows what we do now. Do you think it's a similar situation in Seattle where everyone knows what's coming, and that's really – I don't know. Like, I know you like Seattle's receivers, but I would like to see them invest in someone other than Percy Harvin and what they did. Like,
oh my God, and they gave up so much for him too.
Yeah,
They gave
like
up so much for Percy to rent him for a year and have him punch a teammate in the eye, which is funny because it's Golden Tate. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I mean, obviously they go out and get Jimmy Graham, who's supposed to be like the game changer, and he hasn't really looked like it other than like a game or two. Um, Bevel called out Russell, I think, this week and said, "Hey, we need to get him involved and throw passes that are catchable." Um,
throw passes that are catchable.
He had an opportunity. That pick that Tron Matthew had. Matthew was burned at first on that double move from Baldwin, and then Russ just threw it 5 yards too far down the field, allowing Matthew to kind of run over the top and get it. I mean, they've had opportunities, and Russell just hasn't always made them. Now, he's also made plays that most quarterbacks probably can't to kind of make up for some things, but at the same time, he's just not being consistent. The offensive line's not great. He's been sacked 35 times, I think, so far, which 3 times plus per game is, as a quarterback, I probably wouldn't be too easy in the pocket either. And some of that he does hold it a little bit longer. Sometimes he runs around more than he probably needs to, but that's also like what makes him great. Kind of like Favre, right? So Favre would be like this gunslinger who would make throws that you probably shouldn't make, and it would be great. Also would make throws that you probably shouldn't make, and they weren't so great. So, I think you just got to live with that rut with Russ and just hope that he kind of elevates the floor that he's at, because his ceiling obviously is still really good. He can be really, really good, but there's those times where he's just not consistent at all. Well, consistently bad, but he needs to just raise the floor that he's at, and so like his worst play is better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So I mean, the Seahawks struggling. Did anyone expect the Panthers to be this good? I mean, I really thought that them just putting a patchwork offensive line in front of Cam Newton and having no receivers to throw the ball to, that they would struggle. Obviously, their defense is really good. Josh Norman kind of came out of nowhere and all of a sudden is one of the best corners in football. And honestly, I mentioned it a little earlier, but I feel like Cam Newton keeps getting better. Like, the guy is just – he's throwing to a bunch of scrubs and making them look really good, except for Greg Olsen.
Right. Greg Olsen's making, like, one-handed catches every other week. It's crazy. Cam is a lot better, regardless of whether or not you're a fan of his dancing, which that mom in Ohio or whomever needs to chill out about.
Yes, she does.
It's just the dumbest thing ever. Apparently, it was like something that like a kid wanted him to do too. Like I don't know if it was like a kid in a hospital or whatever, but somebody he was hanging out with said, "Hey, when you score, can you dab on him?" So he did. Now people are mad at him because he did it for a little kid. But yeah, his play has been really good. He's also been a little more inconsistent probably than what the team would like, but at the same time, they're making plays. They keep winning. Defense, obviously mentioned it, super great. They got really good players at every level. Kawan Short, obviously Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis, and then Norman out at corner. Like, they're good at every single level defensively. Offensive line's not totally crappy. And then you got Cam. I don't put Cam, by the way, in the MVP discussion, honestly.
Really?
I don't. I know.
I think we have different. Okay, realistically, we probably both are going to say right now Tom Brady's probably the league MVP, right?
I'd say him and Carson
Palmer. I know you
Palmer
like Carson Palmer.
Those two would probably be my leaders.
To take the MVP for what it's really supposed to be as the most valuable player, I think if the Panthers don't have Cam Newton, they are not as nearly as – they are a very average team, in my opinion. I just don't see it. I think he is so much of a difference maker. You could probably say that about a lot of quarterbacks, but I don't think – I could see Arizona if Carson Palmer goes down. Like, Bruce Arians is good enough. Like, he can coach the other guy to at least get some wins. Same with the Patriots. I feel like if Garoppolo had to come in for Brady for some reason because he got hurt, I feel like they'd still find ways to win games. I think Carolina would really struggle without Cam, but that's just my opinion.
I mean, you're not wrong. They definitely would struggle. It'd be probably the same sorts of games still where their defense is good enough to keep them in it, and then they just got to hope that whoever it would be their quarterback isn't totally screwing it up. because they're good enough everywhere else. Even I mean, whoever like Ted Ginn's returning, right? He's a super dangerous dude at any moment with the ball in his hands. He can at least catch those, I guess, versus actual passes. He's not so good at catching. Just being honest, okay, the guy drops 25% of his catchable passes, so not good. Yeah, they have surprised me though. Honestly, I don't know who we picked to win that division. I think I picked the
I picked
Saints.
Atlanta, baby. Ooh.
You picked Atlanta.
You
Who
picked the
made
Saints,
you look good
Brett.
for?
The Saints suck. The Saints aren't even going to be better than Tampa Bay.
Hey, the season's not over. Let's just hold off on saying that at least. Which, by the way, if we're gonna say that Washington and Philly can possibly make the playoffs, New Orleans has the same number of wins. Just throwing it out there, all right?
That's true, but there's no way that. Come on, Brett. The NFC South is not getting both wild cards. That's ridiculous.
That's because Atlanta wouldn't get it then.
Atlanta's not going to lose it, man. Are you serious? I don't think. The last quick point I wanted to hit on for surprises, another kind of the thing. What the heck is going on with Indianapolis and Andrew Luck? Oh, by the way, the AFC South is the worst division in football, with the NFC East. Those divisions are awful, but the AFC South is seriously a joke.
At least the NFC East has a team at 500, which is more than the AFC South can say. I mean, Tennessee has won 2 games, and they're only out of the win column by 2 games as far as like making the playoffs go. That's very, very sad. Houston's 4-5. They don't have a legitimate quarterback. Tied for first in the division. And I don't know. Like, I don't think I ever expected the Colts to be like a super great team.
So many people picked them to be their Super Bowl pick this year.
So many people are done. Well, so many people also this year picked Baltimore, I think, to be in the Super Bowl. They're not even gonna.
Yeah, that might have been me.
I
didn't pick them to be in the Super Bowl, but I picked them to win the division.
Well, you're not the even the worst. I have seen some people pick Baltimore to win the Super Bowl or make it to the Super Bowl. So we're not as bad as those people. Yay! But still, man, like I don't know what's going on with the Colts. Let's see, what's their record even? They're 4-5.
Is it just everything upstairs? Like, you know, these organizations, right? The ones that I feel like, I hate to say this, but, you know, the ones like the Patriots, where at the top level, at ownership, down to, you know, Belichick and whoever else helps him with GM type stuff, to the head coach, everyone is on the same page. And I feel like the Colts have been saying all season about how Pagano isn't going to be there. And he's going to be fired. They make the switch and they fire their offensive coordinator, who last year, that same offensive coordinator was put in an offense that was averaging like, you know, 380 yards a game or 400 or whatever it was. Like, he was being highly regarded. Now all of a sudden he's out of a job. It's like, what is going on?
Well, it's funny nationally because obviously Pep got a lot of press for having an offense that was super good, but a lot of people down here, like even they always were like calling Pep out for how predictable. Like they're like, oh no, here's a situation, and then this situation happens. They're like, that's so Pep, you know, like of course this is what Pep Hamilton does. Like so they kind of all weren't super confident in his coordinator abilities, especially given the offense. I mean, when you have Luck and the receivers that they had and everything, you probably should be putting up those types of numbers, which I guess leads you to this year, and you're like, why aren't they? One, obviously, Luck's not playing great. He's not getting away with the bad play that he had. He used to throw a lot of really, really bad passes that weren't intercepted. Now they have been.
Finally catching up to him.
Finally catching up. You know, Luck was unlucky, I guess, for the most part of this year. Now he's hurt, and then Hasselbeck's got to play. Actually, they played better, I think, at the beginning of the year with Hasselbeck, though. So maybe this is some sort of like weird blessing in disguise, almost like, you know, Manning getting hurt and Roethlisberger getting to play. I don't really know. It's actually the opposite because they're putting in an old guy instead of the young guy. But and the defense sucks as far as I'm concerned. I don't think they have Vontae Davis, and the pass rush is kind of okay sometimes, but that's about it.
Yeah, I feel like the defense hasn't been great. So, you know, my question to you is, being that you're in Indy, who would you like to see take over that team? Is there any, whiffs of offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators somewhere, they can steal Nick Saban?
No. I haven't, honestly, as far as I know, really looked into that a whole lot. I mean, I assume if Pagano's gone, though, like, it's going to be a whole new staff anyway, so they could bring somebody in at some point and say something, but, I mean, Pagano's, I think, gone, which kind of sucks. What they should have done is just kept Bruce Arians there and made him the coach during that little stretch, because he was essentially should have been coach of the year that year.
Yeah.
I think it was Pagano won it, or they split it. I don't know how that worked, but that probably should have been the move they made. Too late for that now that he's obviously established in Arizona. So they don't really have a coordinator there or anyone like to promote from within. They're going to have to start all over.
That's fair.
And that's coming from a team that's going to probably make the playoffs too, is like, all right, thanks for making the playoffs, but you guys actually weren't that good, so you're all canned.
It's true. The one thing I will say about the playoffs, I mean, it's the fun thing about the NFL playoffs. Anything can happen. Obviously it's just a one-game format. If you don't bring your A game and the other team does, you're probably going to lose, regardless of how higher seeded you would be. So that's kind of what makes the playoffs fun. But I don't know, Brett, any other mid-season thoughts you have?
I would like to share – this might take me a second to find it.
Okay.
Because I commented on something Max Voda posted a while ago about – because they were talking about Aaron Rodgers too, so I'm going to go back to that. That didn't take as long as I thought. So, Rodgers said himself he got scared on the last throw, headlines in the paper, blamed the O-line. I think that was 2 weeks ago. I don't remember who they were playing. I think it was the Carolina game, maybe. I remember. But basically what I did was I posted a stat. Jesus Christ, stuff is just falling over on this desk by itself. About there's a stat floating around about him not beating a top 10 defense on the road or a team that had a winning record. Well, I mean, he's done that actually like every year since 2011, so that stat was completely wrong. But then Max was like, okay, what about top 10 defenses on the road? Also happened this year when they beat Chicago, who's actually currently 9th in total yards and 5th in pass yards a game. But then Max wanted to know, he thought it would be fun to figure out a top 10 defense on a team that also has a winning record, right? So that's going to be basically the most elite teams. The stats that I found out were, let's see, Aaron Rodgers was only 3-10 in those games where he was playing a top 10 defense and against a team with a winning record. So they probably had an offense to complement it. But at the same time, Tom Brady's only 4-6, not including playoffs. I only did regular season. So Brady was 4-6, and Peyton Manning was only 3-7. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you play a top 10 defense and a team that has a winning record, it's hard to win those games. Like you're in fact not even expected to win those games based on what their records are. So I just felt like that was kind of something that I wanted to share to make everybody aware that, when you play good teams, it doesn't mean you have to expect to win. Stuff happens, right? Like they're a good team with a top 10 defense and a winning record for a reason. You're not going to win them all. Not even going to win half. I mean, Tom Brady hasn't even won half, granted by a game. But still, also for Peyton Manning's sake, 4 of his 7 losses have come against Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, yeah.
And the Patriots, because they had top 10 defenses those years as well, that he lost 4 of those 7. So I guess if you take that out of it, Manning's the only one with a 500 record. But he never got past the Patriots that often, so we're counting him as also being bad. Just kind of a quirky little stat that I wanted to point out.
That's fair. Yeah, so I think that's all we got this week. Next week. Oh shoot! There's one other thing we gotta go over. How could I forget? Our weekly pick'em. I know that I am sitting. Well, after freaking last night, I chose the stupid, stinking Tennessee Titans, and that really backfired. Marcus Mariota apparently on the final play doesn't understand he needs to throw up the ball and give someone a chance.
I don't know who I picked. I'm kind of intrigued now.
Let's see. It looks like
Jacksonville.
so. Oh wow. Okay. So overall, we got St. Pat's Revenge at 94. Jeremy's terrible picks passes me. Jeremy, if you're watching this, you passed me, you jerk. Tsunami, myself in fourth. Ryan sitting there at 90. Then we got a little drop off. Jovik's team at 85. Stale Chips. Our buddy Brett there at 83. Smart Holes at 83. The boys at 78 and Lars, you dropped down, buddy, at 78. So, we got some movement. It looks like a little bit. Brett, come on, you're still tied with your mom.
Did you know you and Lars? Oh, a lot of people have failed to, or forgot to pick. Thank God for these Thursday games, man. This is my only chance to catch up because people just don't pick. You and Lars picked Tennessee. Me, Ryan, Tsunami, St. Patrick Revenge, Joe, and Jeremy, we all picked Jacksonville. So we all at least made a game on that.
I'm a little upset at Jeremy. He told me today, he's like, oh, last second I decided to change my pick to Jacksonville. I was like, what?
Dude, Jacksonville's been playing decent. Not great, but
better than, just a quick little off topic, better than I thought. I mean, I thought Bortles was going to be a complete bust when he was taken third overall. And you know what? I've been pleasantly surprised. It's actually not terrible. But I think that that wraps up this week's edition. So next week we'll be back and probably go over some more NFL topics, hopefully discussing a Packers win, or we will probably be discussing the panic meter a little bit. So
oh yeah, we can bring the panic meter out for a bunch of teams probably.
Yeah. So until next week.